Honey, would you come up and join me, please, and tell us a little bit about our special guest this morning. I'll leave it at that. Go ahead, honey.
All right. Are you excited? So early this year, in the spring, Trom and I, well, actually Trey got involved. Several of our family members got involved in helping out with the movies that Winter State Production is doing, Hameen and Camille Torpor. And I have to confess, Eric knows this already. So, we were picking up two guys, Eric and Noel, another actor, and I thought I better look see what they look like. So I pulled them up.
So you didn't pick up the wrong people.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. So anyway, I pulled them up, and Eric plays gangster in a lot of movies.
I don't know why.
And so, this is a true story, okay? So I called Trom, and then I look up the other guy, and I said, Trom, these guys, I feel like I met them when I used to go visit my dad in prison. I said, I'm like, they're rough dudes. I said, no, let me just.
What a nice introduction you're giving.
It is. One of a kind. We're friends now, so it's all good. So anyway, so I called Trom, my son, and I said, and he was behind me. I said, son, you pick up this guy. I'll pick up this guy. Eric looks nicer than Noel. He's like, Mom, are you going to be okay? And have you ever had, flood emotions of, the past? Yeah. All these emotions came up when we I had Thanksgiving one time in prison, minimum security. That was my life growing up. So he gets in my car, he gets in the back, and all of a sudden we start talking, of course, about the Lord. And I'm like, okay, he's not near as mean looking as his pictures. And he's really a nice guy. And we hit it off immediately. So then I said, hey, would you be interested? I went from being scared of this guy to, will you come speak to our youth? So we hit the phones, we hit Flock Note, and he spoke to our youth, and our youth loved him. So they have been great. They're the real deal. It's a real treat that your wife is with you. Love that. Thank you, Christina, for being here, too, at church. These guys have not had a whole lot of sleep. That's the movie world, I guess.
After those comments, now you're going to tell her something nice.
It fits. Anyway, Eric and I have gotten to know each other. He's the real deal. He's very sincere. He loves the Lord. And that's the kind of people we like, right? So then I haven't met Quinton until this week, just briefly, really. And how many of you saw The Blind Side? Yeah. He's just like that. When he was on The Blind Side, he's just like that now. How about that? His mannerisms, his gentleness, you're going to see that he's a gentle giant. I so appreciate that you're the real deal because not everybody in the acting world is that way. And you can see that. And so who's going first? All right. So you can share about your testimony with these two. Then you can take the stack, and ushers, he's going to want some more of these. So somebody grab those as we head out the door. It is our privilege, our honor as CFC to welcome Eric and Christina Martinez. How about that intro?
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing I'm at church because it's funny because I'm not going to take up too much time, but what I was going to talk about actually was being tested and the art of forgiveness. Never did I think I would be tested coming to here and have to pray for forgiveness. And yes, I do. Yes, I do. Let me just say that, and I have to get this out of the way first. Pastor Cherie is, we have grown to become great friends. I don't think she realizes how much of an impact she's made on my life. And even though we're thousands of miles apart, we've talked quite a bit, and it's funny because every time I call her, I gain a little bit more knowledge, and she's helped renew my faith in many different ways, and for that I can't thank you enough. And I'm so glad to be here today and to finally get to hang out with Dr. T. And what I wanted to tell you real quick is one of the things that I did want to talk about was being tested. And I think a lot of people have this misconception, and I get it all the time because, one, I'm in this business. People say, oh, it must be great being in the business that you're in. You probably don't ever have any problems. You have to, you get to do whatever you want, go wherever you want, and everywhere you go, people, must love you. And I have to often tell people that that's not the real world, And another thing they tell me is, well, because you're a Christian and because you follow the Lord, it must, you must be shielded from everything all the time. And I'm not. The truth of the matter is that I'm tested daily. I'm tested in my faith. I'm tested in my loyalty. I'm tested in my kindness. And one of the things that the last time I was here that I left with that means the world to me, and I don't go anywhere without it, and Christina can tell you that if I leave the house now without it, I panic. I really do. And it's my prayer cloth. And I take my prayer cloth with me everywhere. It travels with me. Now it stays with me everywhere. And every time I feel like I'm being tested, I hold on to it and I say the prayer of faith on it, or, the prayer that's on it. And I couldn't wait. One of the things I couldn't wait to do when I got here is to because everybody back home, every time they see me pull it out, they ask, where did you get that from? And I always tell them, I got it at, Christian Family Church out in Owatonna, and it's something that stays with me. And eventually I'm going to help, I'd like to take tons of these with me all over the place and create, start a campaign, where people take pictures of them, post them on Instagram, talk about their testimony and how the Lord's helped them through some of the toughest times in their life. I grew up in a very, very broken environment. I grew up in a family that didn't love the Lord. I grew up I was left with a family that wasn't mine, actually. I have a book coming out that I'm still working on, and hopefully I can complete it this next year. And the book's entitled Relentless. And it talks about my journey through life, and it talks about, my coming to the Lord and what it took for me to get to that point. I got to tell you, the Lord has a funny way of, I don't know if anybody of you have ever experienced this. Have you ever had those times where it's just you and him, and you want to let him know what's on your mind? You want to let him know that you don't think life is fair? Well, I've had many, many, many of those days. There's been many times when I've fought through it, and it's funny. I don't know if this happens to you, but to me, I end up losing every one of those arguments. I lose every single one of them, and 99.9% of the time, I lose him because he doesn't fight back with me. He continues to love me and shelter me and forgive me, and I've found myself yelling at the top of my lungs at him and wondering why things haven't gone my way, why he's brought me to the brink of so many things, and then it doesn't work out. Or there's so many times where I come across people who aren't as kind as I think they should be, and I'm constantly asking the Lord, like, why would you put these people in my way? And I always come to one conclusion, and diamonds were forged from roughness. And I feel like he's put these people in my path because he sees how rough I've been. And he's teaching me patience with these people. He's teaching me he's teaching me to have sovereignty. He teaches me every day, where I need to be and what my limits are. I used to think that I could handle everything on my own. I'm very much I guess the word would be alpha male. And it's funny because this whole week on set, this happened at Brothers Keeper too. Like, nobody will talk to me. People avoid me. Like, and and finally, I had a couple people tell me on the set, and Hamid was one of them. He was like, "Well, Eric, when you don't smile, you don't look like the nicest guy in the world. You're like a little bulldog, Yeah, you and I are going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. That, and the thing is if you get to know me, people don't believe me. I'm extremely, extremely shy. I'm extremely shy. And, but when you get to know me, when you break through that, you'll find that I really have a good heart. I truly do love people, and it took me a long time to get there because for a long time I didn't love myself, and the Lord has, taught me and showed me that it's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to have flaws. It's okay to make mistakes. This past week has been a big, big test of my faith in many different ways, and you walk into every situation just hoping, I think our hope in this life is that we can get through life with no problems, no issues, but that's not the reality of things. And that's not what the Lord meant for us anyway. I believe the Lord meant for us to go through these trials so we know who to hang on to. I believe he meant for us to go through deep waters so he knows that we're going to look to him no matter what. I think one of the most important things that I've learned is in order to forgive others, you have to forgive yourself. You have to learn to forgive yourself. So, this year has been a very, very challenging year on many different levels. And again, people think that because Quinton and I are in this business that we don't face challenges. And this hard part about that is you almost don't become human anymore to these people. So a lot of people, you're that guy that never has any issues. They feel like we don't deal with real life. Quinton and I can tell you, we deal with real life every single day. As a matter of fact, sometimes it's magnified because of who we are. There's probably not a day that goes by that I don't open up social media and see something bad about myself. Somebody attacking my character, attacking my faith, calling me a Jesus freak. I do. If you follow me on Instagram or if you follow me on social media, I post a passage every day. I post scripture every day. And the funny thing is, for a long, long time, I was really afraid to do that. I was afraid of what the industry might think of me. I was afraid of losing jobs. I was afraid of what my friends might think of me. And then when I gave my life to the Lord and I got baptized, I realized that the one thing I realized is, for the longest time, I felt like I couldn't come to the Lord unclean. Do you know what I mean? I felt like I had to first get my life right, and then I could come to the Lord, and then I could get baptized. But I was thinking all backwards. And when I came to the Lord and I got baptized, he cleaned up the mess for me. And I realized at that moment that if he wasn't ashamed of me and allowed me into his house and allowed me into his heart, then there's no way I could be ashamed of him in anything that I do. And I carry my faith. One of the things we're told, in fact, it was weird that we didn't get told this right at the school this time. Every school we've gone to, two of the things that they tell us not to ever mention is 1, financials, 2, religion. Well, here's my theory. Once you give me the mic, I'm in charge. So I talk about my faith. I talk about the Lord. And 9 times out of 10, every single time that I do, I get kids that want to pray with me after. I get kids that come to me in tears and tell me that, they've been so afraid and so ashamed of admitting that they love the Lord that now because of me, they know that they can use it as a platform as well. And there's nothing special. I tell them all the time, there's nothing special about me. I used to think that I got to this position by myself, but it has nothing to do with me. God is in full control of my life. And he's given me every obstacle to grow. And he's also given me every blessing to use as a platform. So with that being said, I wanted to say again, thank you guys so much for allowing me to be here. I didn't really want to talk about the projects that I have coming up because I feel like, to me, you know, if people really want to know about the projects I have coming up, they'll find me on social media. But I want to tell you that I'm super excited to be here for the films that I've done with Hamid, Brothers Keeper, and Summertime Dropouts. Quinton and I actually do right now have a film on the Stars Network with Vivica Fox. It's a beautiful story about a young man who takes on, you know, the city council for his best friend who was killed by an officer, and it touches on a subject that I think all of us, you know, need to really hold deep, because again, that comes with, you know, a lot of times we judge people. We're quick to judge. We're super quick to judge. Right, Cherie? Right, Pastor? Sorry. Sometimes I have Tourette's. It just comes out, and I don't even know where that comes from. It's like that thinking out loud voice, you know. Yes. Yeah. So, and I just lost my train of thought. Do I look like a gangster? I do? Well, here's the funny thing. Don't let that movie fool you at all. Quinton's more gangster than me. Like, he's a very, very good actor. Very good actor. So, anyway, again, thank you guys so much for allowing us to be here. Thank you for allowing me to be here. Thank you for allowing me to share just a little bit of my testimony with you. And I hope you all do follow me, because I love seeing other people successful. I love hearing stories of faith. And, you know, the last time I left here, there was a lot of people that followed me, and I follow them as well, and I see their stories, you know. So thank you for being so encouraging. And with that being said, I'm going to invite Pastor Cherie back up. And can I have a couple calls?
We'll get more for you too.
Thank you.
I wanted to say a couple things. Last time he was here, Eric had talked about his testimony, and I'm going to take a couple minutes here. Can we go back in your childhood a little bit? I just want to know, because a lot of people quit when they have adversity. But when you don't quit, you become super strong. If you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small, the word says. You know, in our house we say, we Petersons, we're in the ministry. We do adversity very well. Right? When you've got a call, this is your call. Your acting is your call. So maybe just a little bit, your childhood, you've got a one-liner that's powerful. And then can you just touch on how many times you had to knock on a door before a door was open in acting? Just shared a lot, didn't I?
Yes, yeah. You know, it's funny, I have many good one-liners. Well, let me start by saying this. I've gotten 10,000 no's for every one yes, and that's the truth. I can't tell you. And in this business can play games with you many times. You know, every audition I've had, I always get this: you're too small, you're too ethnic looking, you're too gangster looking. I mean, I even got one time I was too tall. That's funny, right? Yeah. The funny thing was, I wasn't even offended. I was like, are you serious? I'll take the no for real. Like, that's great. Yes. They were like, yeah, you're too tall for this part. And then funny thing was, I walked out to the lobby and saw all the people that I was auditioning with, and they're all 6-year-olds. Yeah, I wasn't so proud of myself after that. But I have faced, and everybody has their own story, but I have faced adversity through severe abuse, physically and mentally. I'm not ashamed to say that it was even sexually. I've been drugged through the grinder, and the one thing that never ever left me was my faith. And the funny thing was, is even though I didn't realize what a real relationship with the Lord meant, even back when I was a little boy, going through that, my family left me with a family that wasn't mine, and that's what happened. My mom left me at 7 years old. I'll never forget, and to this day, I can close my eyes and I can smell the rain. I can tell you how it looked outside. I can tell you what it was like driving to the airport with my mom. And she wouldn't hold my hand all the way to the airport. I knew something was wrong. I packed my backpack. My sister was left at the house, my baby sister. And I was like, there's no way she's going to leave. So I packed I used to have a little Snoopy backpack that I took with me everywhere. And I packed it. And I got in the car with her and my grandparents. And when we were at the airport, this was back when you could walk people right up to the gate. And I'll never forget, she turned to me finally, and she got down on her knees, and she said, "Son, you're not going to understand this right now, but someday you will." And I remember feeling like someone had taken my legs out from under me. I remember feeling like I couldn't breathe, and I was holding on to her so tight that I felt like I was literally cutting off the circulation in both her and myself. She let me go, and she turned and walked away, and when she got on the plane, she sat in the seat that faced my window. And I was crying so hard I could barely breathe, and I was hoping that she would look at me, because I couldn't understand why a mom would do that. Like, why would she leave me? And she shut the blinder, and that was the last I saw of my mom. And the family that she left me with wasn't a biological family of mine. It was her ex-husband's family. So for 5 years, I went through severe abuse on a farm. We lived on a farm that, the closest neighbor was 40 miles away. So abuse, I ended up having to embrace abuse, and it became the normal for me. And I had many, 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 many chances to give up on life. And it didn't just end there. When I got older and I finally reunited with my mom, I found out that the man that she was with was even worse than the people that I was with. And he abused me. But you begin to feel like if that's the only love that you can get, and that's what it is, then you're going to accept it no matter what. I was homeless for many years. I was literally eating, and I was eating out of a trash can. I would stay, back when they had these little phones that you could buy, and you could purchase your minutes on your phones, and I would get them, and they were 30-minute increments. And I would call my mom and tell her that I was fine, told her that I was going to make it in the business. And, it's mom's intuition, right? She knew something was wrong. She knew I wasn't fine. And during that time, I was staying behind a trash can. It was behind a restaurant that my buddy worked at, and he would bring me food every night. I've sacrificed everything to be in this business. I've sacrificed everything. I've been relentless in my pursuit of success. And for the longest time, I was being very selfish with that. I wanted success because I wanted to prove everybody wrong. I wanted to prove to everybody that I could make it. I wanted to prove it to myself. And now, the Lord has taught me that with my platform, I can help other people that have gone through similar situations as I have. That I can be a helping hand, even just through talking with someone or sharing my testimony, right? I came very, very, very close. And I don't share this with many people, but I'll share it with you today. I came very, very close to committing suicide many years ago. And I'll never forget the drive to Odessa. My mom lived in Odessa at the time, and she still does. And the drive from Albuquerque to Odessa it's about a 6-hour drive, and there's a stretch of road, and I had mapped it out. And I had wrote my mom a letter a stretch of this road, it's a long stretch, it's about a 60-mile stretch, there's nobody around. And I knew exactly where I was going to do it. And I had gotten a gun from a friend of mine, and I wrote my mom a note. I drove out to that spot. I parked the car, and I got out of the car, and I remember I didn't want my mom to find me in a mess. I didn't want the people who found me to find me in a mess. So I laid down a towel. And I laid down a pillow next to the car. And I took the gun out, and I put it in my mouth. And I remember, again, not knowing the Lord like I do today, but I remember saying, God, please forgive me. Please forgive me for giving up. Tell my mom that I love her and that I forgive her. And I pulled the trigger. The funny thing is that I shot the gun twice prior to that. And the gun went off both times. When I pulled the trigger, it didn't go off. I pulled it twice. And I was ready. I put the gun down, and I cried, and I cried, and I cried, and I was thinking to myself, like, what are you doing? This is not who you were meant to be. This is not what you're built for. You're built. I have this saying. It's BFW. I'm built for war. I'm a soldier of God, and I'm built for war. And I remember telling myself, God, if you just get me home, I'll do the very best that I can. And ever since that day, I've been trying. I've been doing the best that I can. It took me a long time to get baptized. It took me a long time to give myself to the Lord. But I can tell you that I have a beautiful family now. I have a beautiful woman in my life that I love with all my heart. I have one of the best friends, in the world. And I continue to be shocked at how much God loves me. Because for all practical purposes, I shouldn't be standing here in front of you today. And what I want to say to you is, I know it sounds like a cliche, but don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. Okay? God loves you. He's in your corner. You got the most powerful force in the universe that's got your back. Don't ever, ever give up. Thank you.
Powerful, huh? Don't ever give up. All right. Now, I think you've seen this guy as well. Please, I'm just going to make it short, the introduction. Okay? You're not nervous? Okay. All right, CFC. Let's give him a warm Minnesota Owatonna welcome to Quinton Aaron. See, I don't have any stories on you yet.
No. Woo. Hello. I ain't gonna lie, I was about to tear up, man. Eric was trying to make me cry up here. How you guys doing this morning? I swear, Eric and I have been best friends for like going on 10 years now, and every time I hear his story, it still gets to me, you know. I'm anxious to read the book. I read part of it, and I was just like, just leave me alone. I need to be by myself right now. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. You know, it just kind of, it just makes you want to go back into his past and find some of those people. Well, that's just me anyway. So before I got saved, Um, I was the opposite of who I am today. I was very introverted, shy, afraid of everything. And when I say afraid of everything, there's still a lot of things today that I'm afraid of. And he'll tell you from experience, like, let a spider jump out. I will clear this room so fast. Yeah, just as a matter of fact, true story, packing up to come here. It's like 5:30 in the morning, sitting up packing my bag, and I have the suitcase out, and I have no idea where it came from, but I saw a spider this big. Ran out next to my foot. I screamed, woke the whole house up, jumped back on the bed, and then the spider jumped in my luggage. So for the next 45 minutes, I was trying to get it out the bag, almost missed my plane. I couldn't bring half the clothes I had packed because I soaked it with Raid, trying to kill the spider. So, yeah, I had some nice shirts. I had some better looking jeans. But they say it happens for a reason, right? I don't know what the test was that day. I'm still trying to figure that one out. Where that spider came from. Biggest spider I ever seen up close in person in my life. I had to Google it. It was a wolf spider. I was like, yeah, I'd rather deal with half the luggage than a bite from that thing. So that was a test that day. I think God was laughing at me. I think he did that. He was laughing like, look at him run, look at him. Ooh, some lungs on that one. Yeah, it was. I'm telling you, if you heard the scream, I didn't know. Like, I thought Mariah Carey came back. The whole house woke up. And it was funny because I was staying at my friend in Florida's place at the time, and so like we were spending the night, and he was gonna take me to the airport. So when I screamed, they have a big house. His mom was the first one to the room, and she was on the other side of the house with. There's like 3 closed doors in between us. She made it over here, and I was embarrassed. How you gonna explain why you screamed 5:30 in the morning, and you 6'8", 450 pounds? She thought I had a bad nightmare. She said, it's just a dream. There's no spider in there. I said, open the bag and look at it. Needless to say, she was the one that killed it. I said, thank you. I love you, Mama. Oh. Yeah, so as you can see today, there's still some things I'm scared of. Can't blame me for that one, though. If you seen that spider, you'd run, too. Man. Whew. But I have, growing up, I was afraid of a lot of things. Didn't have a father growing up. Closest thing to a father figure I had growing up was my brother's father, who was a drunk and drug abuser and woman abuser. He was not nice to my mom, at a time where I was too young to do anything about it. So when I got older and hit a growth spurt and grew up, I became very protective of my mom. And so that's why I made the statement I said about wanting to go back and find some of those people in Eric's past, because I'm very protective of the people that I love. And I do feel like we go through things for a reason, no matter how hard they are sometimes to endure. But a lot of it has nothing to do with us. I feel like a lot of the struggles I went through in my life have nothing to do with me per se, but it was for me to be in a position to be where I'm at today, standing here in front of you, telling you my story. Eric and I have been traveling, talking to kids for the past 9 years. And every single time we speak in front of an audience of children, you can see from the looks on their faces as you're talking to them that they can relate to what you're saying. And then it's at that moment that you realize that's why that happened. You know, that's why this had to happen. That's why I got beat up every day. I got chased home from school. I got thrown down the stairs. I got spit on. I got kicked. I got punched for no reason. I got made fun of, embarrassed in every way you can think of. It wasn't for me. It was so that I can help kids that, you know, don't know how to deal with that and is going through it currently as we speak. You know, growing up, my mom was my best friend. I wear her around my necklace now. She's no longer here with me, but I still feel like she's watching over me. And she helped me mentally get through a lot of the things that kids don't have support for today, which is the reason why I speak. You know, sometimes the smallest gestures, like being told it's okay to not be okay, is a big thing. Because so many of us feel like we're not okay, but we don't know that that's okay. You know, we struggle and we have hardships, but there's no one near to put their arms around you and say, listen, it's okay. It's a part of life. You know, struggling is not always for you. It's so that you can help others, but it's also to build strength. I like to equate it to working out, because I know every time I first start working out and I hit the gym, the hardest thing in the world for me to do is finish that exercise, finish that workout. You know, Eric will tell you, he's trained me a lot, and we're just not going to get into some of the stuff that I've blurted out through the workout sessions. It's not too kind to say right now. I think some folks would consider it bullying, but but it's just one of those things where you understand that it's a part of life. You know, when you're working out and you're struggling, it's hard because it's not supposed to be easy at first, but it takes building strength to get through the things that you're gonna come against in your life, especially as you get older. Another analogy I like to make is when you learn how to swim. A lot of you, when you were children, how did your parents teach you how to swim? They threw you in the deep end and told you to kick, right? That's life. You know, it seems harsh, but that's a part of life. When you get out into the real world and you're on your own, you're being thrown into the deep end. You have to kick to keep your head above water, you know? And it's a struggle, but eventually you learn how to do it. And then when you learn how to do that, you learn something else about yourself that you didn't know. Well, I could swim. I could survive. I got a lot of fight in me I didn't know I had, because you didn't have to do it before. You know, while, you know, my biggest wish in life is that my mom could have still been here till this day, the reality is, had she been, I wouldn't be where I'm at, because she was my crutch in a lot of ways. You know, my mom came to my rescue in so many ways, so much so that I didn't feel I need to do the things that I needed to in order to grow into the person I am today. You know, because she was my shoulder, she was my best friend, my counselor, my protector. Like, no lie, like when I was getting bullied, when she found out I was getting bullied, she came to the school, and, you know, it was like everybody mama walked in the door. We had a principal who was like a drill sergeant. I ain't seen this man afraid of nobody but my mama. Yeah, my mom was like Medea on steroids. She came, oh yeah, she set the school straight. And then she would just like make random pop-ins to my classes. Nobody wanted to be the kid messing with me when she walked through the door, so that's when I got left alone. And so she was my protector and everything. And so, but even through all of that, and you know, it's a mother's love, you know, her instinct to protect her kids and everything. I said, there's no stronger person than a mom when her child's in danger, you know? And, you know, but even through all of that, I became so dependent on her to always be there, and I never really learned how to do certain things for myself until I was thrown into the deep end and told how to, and, you know, told to kick. So that's why I like to encourage kids, because there's so many kids that don't know that. That's all you have to do. You have to learn these things for yourself. And don't be afraid to fail. That's a part of life. So once you grasp the fact that nobody's perfect, perfection doesn't exist, you will never ever be perfect, then it'll become more easier for you to accept the fact that you're going to fail sometimes in life. Doesn't mean that it has to be permanent, because what matters most is what you do after you fail. You always got a second chance, because we serve a gracious, merciful God who is always going to give you time after time to make it right. But he wants you to fail, and he doesn't want you to be afraid of failure, because it's a part of life, because that's building character. When you work out, sometimes you work out till failure, because you're trying to push yourself past what you feel comfortable in order to move to that next level. So that's what it is with life. You have to push yourself past your breaking point in order to keep building that strength that you didn't know you have. A lot of us are capable of so much that we don't know until we try. But certain life's experiences, it tells you, I'm not strong enough, or, I don't think I should do that because of this. Like, tell the truth, when you was a kid, you did hundreds of things that you would not do today. See, life and gravity, or the understanding of gravity tells you that you probably shouldn't try it. Like, I was in Canada about a month ago for one of my friends who got married, and I was the best man. It was the first time I've ever been in this situation. I was like, okay, cool. And it was funny because I said I felt like the best friend in a romantic comedy. That I watch a lot of romantic comedies, so I felt like that character that was the best friend in the romantic comedy, and I was up there in Canada. It was so funny because one day we all went out on the boat. It was like all the guys who went out on some boats, and on the lakes, beautiful lakes up there. And so they all decided, let's go cliff diving. And I was like, oh man, I always seen this in movies. I never did it. All right, cool. So they're climbing up, and I'm like, that's the cliff y'all want to jump? How tall is carry the two? Just no. And then they're all jumping. Even the 12-year-old climb up and jump. I'm like, man, you can't show me up with a kid, man. Come on, man. I got to go up here. So I got out the boat, climbed all the way up the cliff. I'm looking down. I'm like, so my best friend decides to jump before me. And he's 6'5", about 270. I'm 6'8", 500. He jumps, he goes down, he comes up, man, I touched the bottom. I said, nope. I sat down and slid back down the rocks. I said, nope. It was like, jump, you gotta jump. I said, if he touched the bottom, I'm gonna crack the earth. There will be a seismic shift that will probably send a tidal wave down the lake. I don't want to be, I don't want to be the cause of that mass hysteria with people trying to figure out how come we not in the ocean, but we got a big tidal wave coming towards. No. See, and it was because one time at a family reunion, I was like 6 years younger, I decided to do a cannonball in the deep end. First ever time. I'm like, okay, I can still stand up in the water, so it should be good. Like 6 foot side, I was standing up this high. This is where the water stops, so I see me. So I'm like, I know I'm not gonna drown if I jump in the deep end, because I don't know how to swim. Little did it register that if I jump cannonball position, because I'm so big, I'm gonna hit the bottom. I didn't think about that part. So I did the cannonball. And when you cannonball feet up in the air and come down, I cracked my butt bone. Like, I don't think it cracked, but it felt like it did at the time. And then, you ever try to yell underwater? bad. I had to stand up so quick. I was walking like this the rest of the day. They was like, what happened? I said, I shouldn't have did that. I shouldn't have did it. Why'd you make me do it? And so that part jumped in my head when he said he touched the bottom at the lake. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do this. Nope. So it's experience and just getting, wiser, I would say, not older, but getting wiser. That's allowed me to not do the things that I would have done when I was a kid. But it's sometimes those times where you have to tap back into that inner child and go out and experience life, because God doesn't want us to be afraid of those things. If God was right there next to me, he would have said, jump, you're going to be okay. And when we got on the boat and we left, I was actually upset that I didn't jump. I was like, I climbed all the way up the rocks. It was harder walking back down the rocks than it was to go up. I should have just jumped. I was mad at myself. But next time we ever do come to a cliff, no, I ain't going to say that. I had to get my courage up. I forgot we going out on the boat today. I was about to get myself in trouble. You said next time. I didn't mean right now. Let me think about this. But I will say one day I am going to conquer that fear, and I'm going to make that jump. The past couple of years, I've been trying to tackle certain fears that I had, and I even wanted to maybe do like a reality series about it. I've talked about with my team about creating a series where we go around and find people that have a fear that we can conquer together. And it's all about getting people to not be afraid of life or living, because so many people just exist without living, and you only got one life to live. That cliche saying, live it to the fullest, you really should live it to the fullest, because there's so much to explore. And we don't allow ourselves to, because we're so afraid of going outside of what we're used to. We're so afraid of doing what's not normal. I don't want to be normal. I want to be extraordinary. I want to witness extraordinary things. And I want you guys to, too. I want you to pick a fear that you think that's been crippling you and tackle it head on. Break down that wall of fear, because God doesn't want us to have that. He doesn't want us to be fearful. He says cast your cares on him. It's not your battle, it's the Lord's. When knowing that, you shouldn't be afraid of anything, because he's got it. He's a fence all around you, waiting for you to just give him all of your cares, all of your worries, anything that frightens you, so that he can show you how he's got your back. And I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I just wanted to come up and say, that and, stuff. Thank you. But at this time, I'll bring up Pastor Cherie back to the stage, and thank you guys so much.